Hey guys, welcome to Did You Get That on Film? On this podcast, we deep dive into horror movies, and so it is full of explicit content as well as spoilers. Please be advised. Now, let's get to the show.
Welcome to Did You Get That on Film? The podcast where we talk about characters in terrible situations that we would never find ourselves in. I'm your host, DP, and with me is my friend, my confidant, and someone who I know would never move into my home and make their room a public subway. My girl, Ruth.
Hello, everyone. So, this is our very first episode. So, welcome everybody. We are very excited to have you. With that being said, in case you don't know what the hell we're talking about, today we are going to be discussing Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. So, H2 2009. And this is written and directed by Rob Zombie. We have so many fond memories with this movie because one of my favorite afternoons of us together was us going, we had this fucking DVD and you were trying to sell it at a little used record store, used record DVD, I don't know, clothes, posters, because he was very
The
much over it.
unrated version.
The unrated version, okay? And the gentleman, the manager, looked him in the eye and was like, I would actually lose my by buying this from you. He's like, this movie is so bad. I will not be able to sell it. I cannot take this.
And I just think to myself, like, damn, just say no.
That's funny because people are always like, well, the worst they could do is say no. No. The worst they could do is berate you for 15 minutes about why you brought in this movie in the first place.
He asked me why I bought it.
I know. And so, yes, I mean, Dante owned this movie, the physical copy.
Well, I bought it because I remember younger me really liking. Okay, let me say really liking. I liked the first Rob Zombie, and I was like, okay, and I didn't have a chance to see this one in theaters. So I remember getting there, and I was very excited to watch it. I was like, oh, it's going to be great.
So let's talk about it. So Rob Zombie actually, we know that he did almost like a direct remake of the first Halloween. So that was released in 2007. So then he did this movie. This is his sequel to that. I remember I really liked the first one. And I remember at the time I was like very excited. I don't know. I just thought that it was like kind of cool that he gives him a backstory. He gives him a face. We watch him like do these horrible things, go to the institution. We kind of see the things that he's going through, and then he grows up, and we see that. At the time, I really liked that idea because I was like, oh, well, it helps us understand him more. Looking back on it, I'm like, I hate that. I hate everything about that. It's because it's very scary, the idea that of a child just kind of, snaps one day, kills his sister, gets locked up. Nobody knows why he's doing these things. He's like totally soulless. He's empty. I prefer that more. John Carpenter feels the same way. And I'm sure that we will discuss this at a later date. I'm sure that we'll cover something from the new trilogy. John Carpenter, it was very, very vocal about how much he hated the fact that Rob Zombie gave Michael a backstory. We see a lot, especially in this movie, we see a ton of Michael's face. We almost heard him talk, and I was like, Rob Zombie, now you're going too fucking far. But it's just, and I kind of understand where John Carpenter is coming from in that regard. I think that he doesn't handle it very well. He and Rob Zombie have had a pretty open beef for a little while, but I get where he's coming from. You know what I mean? Like, he created this character to be just like kind of the shadow, the wind. It's something that is kind of there, this like kind of supernatural entity. And I don't know, like, how do you feel about bringing some level of like humanity to him, to Michael?
So Rob Zombie's Halloween 2007 is my least favorite of all the movies.
It's controversial, for sure.
I'm controversial. My stance on movies, because we grew up in that remake era,
Right.
I would rather watch something that maybe I don't vibe with 100%, but is different than watch something that I've already seen over and over again. I am a fan of Rob Zombie, the artist. I like Hellblade Loves, Educated Horses. Those are like two of my favorite albums. And I remember when Educated Horses came out around the time, came out right before the first Rob Zombie Halloween. I was just like, oh, it's going to be so awesome. It's going to be so good. And like I said, I really, really enjoyed it. And I think it was the Rob Zombie fan in me really was into it. But
Mm-hmm.
I just think that, and I think he's went on record and said that he was kind of afraid to make too many changes with
Yes.
the character. So the first movie is literally shot by shot at times. Some of the same dialogue is used, so it's just very boring in my opinion. So when he
Well,
comes,
so actually, a point about that, it's I don't even think that it was like, I think there was a certain element of him kind of being afraid to change it too much, just because you know how like fans of this franchise can be. So that
toxic,
is exactly. But I also think that the studio itself, I think they put a lot of constraints on him. I think that he said that he didn't really enjoy the experience because Rob Zombie, and we're going to talk about him a lot over the next couple of podcasts. Rob Zombie's a very creative guy. And so for him to be, I guess it's almost stifled in a way, right? To have to follow this very formulaic approach. It is kind of
boring.
boring. Right.
It's just it wasn't something that I ever would want to go back and be like, okay. And I even tried to in preparation for this one, I was like, wow, I'll watch them back to back and see. And I was just like, I can't watch the movie because I just don't. I know what's going to happen because I've seen it, and I just don't really enjoy it. I'm with you on the backstory. I wish, and we'll talk about it. As we go into Halloween 2, this 2009 Halloween 2. I just there's just a little more he could have done that would have been maybe less in ways. Some things are very, very Rob Zombie, and then some things are not Rob Zombie enough.
Not giving away too much because I'm sure that we'll discuss them on their own, in future podcasts. But the newest trilogy, the 2018 Kills Ends. One thing that I know that we've discussed together is that one thing that we don't like about that is the same thing that we don't like about Rob Zombie's first Halloween, is that at the very least, Halloween 2, 2009 is creative, right? You have to give him that. He
Great.
really, yeah, he really like took some chances. And a lot of people that have handled this franchise, and it's like something that's common, I don't want to I don't want to get people too riled up, but the Scream franchise is very similar. People take it and they don't really want to ruffle feathers, so it ends up just being like a lot of fan service. And I feel like, you have to give it up for Rob Zombie for being creative. And I feel like in the newer trilogy, I wonder if people feel similarly to us that those things are a little formulaic. They are lacking in the creativity that Rob Zombie displays in this movie. You know what I mean?
Because it is different.
All right. Well, enough talking. I guess
No.
let's get into what we came to do. So we are going to recap and review this movie. So, the movie opens with some on-screen text. It is the definition of a white horse. So I don't know if you guys have never seen the first Halloween. If you're living under a rock, okay? Rob Zombie is married to a woman named Sherry Moon Zombie. She is definitely a talent in her own right, but you will never, ever see a Rob Zombie production and not see Sherry Moon Zombie. She is going to be in that bitch start to finish. And so that's a little weird, when you consider if you did see the first Halloween 2007, don't want to spoil it for you guys, but Sherry Moon Zombie,
Eat the
or
bullet.
she's fucking dies. She kills herself. Deborah Myers. So this is Michael's mother. She dies. And so I feel like all I can do is laugh and shake my head. Like I'm really the fool because I assumed that she wouldn't be in this movie. But then the joke's on me because this is a Rob Zombie production. Of course she's going to be in this bitch.
She was the
So
first one called.
stop. He asked her like in bed, "Hey babe, I'm gonna make this movie. You're gonna be in it." I see. We've talked about this before. If your man does not ride for you like Rob Zombie rides for Sherry Moon Zombie, then you need to get somebody new because she died. But she is the first character you see in this movie.
She literally, she didn't just like die off screen. She ate a bullet, y'all. She fucking blew her brains out.
Right, because she kills herself with Boo, her infant daughter, in the room. But she makes an appearance. She's the first thing we see. So we see Sherry Moon Zombie, and she's walking into the psychiatric facility where Michael is being held. So she is going to visit Michael because this is where he is after killing his sister, Judith, and her boyfriend, and her mom's boyfriend, Ronnie, right?
Can we fuck them all up?
Yeah, he really did a number on them. So there is some foreshadowing in this scene because he's talking to his mom and he's telling her about a dream that he had. And he tells her that he dreamt about her in a white dress with this white horse. And it's all too much. It's all too much. So now we fast forward to 15 years later, and this is picking up exactly where the first movie left off, Halloween 1, where it ends. So we see Laurie is totally covered in blood. She's stumbling down the street. And in the first movie, she has had this encounter with Michael, right? And so she's like shot him. Sheriff Brackett finds her wandering dazed in the street. He takes the gun away. And then we fast forward to this very chaotic scene of Laurie going to the hospital. And Dr. Loomis is getting loaded into an ambulance, and the coroners are carrying Michael's big ass fucking body to a van. And I guess they like ran out of body bags because they just load Michael's body into this van just raw and just kind of strap him down in there. Additionally, in that van, we have Linda's corpse because this is after the night that Michael attacks Laurie and kills her friends. And so we get a scene where we're riding with the coroners And in true Rob Zombie fashion, the coroners are just really fucking disgusting. I mean, they're creeps. And one of them is talking about how he got an erection while loading Linda into the van. And this is Linda's 17 years old,
And
but
dead.
but additionally she's a corpse, right? And this is such a thing in Rob Zombie films where everybody is just, I don't know, like how to describe it, really fucking vulgar. I don't
There.
know.
So one thing about Rob Zombie, Rob, we
My
want
friend Rob.
my friend Rob. We want a sponsorship so bad.
I know. Please, Rob, sponsor us, please. We
But
love
one thing
you.
about it is like he loves like B movies, B horror movies, and if you think about B horror movies like the 70s, if you think about something like Maniac, if you think about something like Henry, if you think about
Texas Chainsaw
Frankenhooker,
Massacre.
Texas Chainsaw
He
Massacre,
loves it.
he loves the concept. These people are just backwoods. They're very backwoods. They're very
Trailer
you know,
Parky.
trailer parky. But also, Rob Zombie grew up with parents who were carnies.
Mm-hmm.
So he's probably had a lot of interaction with some very interesting people. So I think about that, when you're writing just these filler characters and you just kind of think of people from the past and stuff, or something you probably heard. Maybe he read a story about, a coroner who had sex with a corpse. And he was like,
Right.
okay, it'd be kind of cool to just add that to it. I think what makes it very aggressive in his movies is it's just there's never like a counterbalance of another character.
Right. Yes. And so I think that'll become like more and more apparent as we're going through it. They're just, in this movie particularly, there's like no fucking redeemable characters in this
Yeah.
movie. So this coroner's talking about having sex with this 17-year-old girl's corpse. He has this really crazy line. Do you remember the
But what
the
he
joke?
says, he was like, what's the difference between jelly and jam? And he was like, what is it? You can't enjoy your cock of a dead girl ass.
Right. And so I was like, I wonder if Rob Zombie put this, because he does a lot of shock value type stuff. But I was like, I wonder if he put this in here to make us feel okay with what's like about to happen to these people. Because when they die, we're like, oh, finally. Finally, these fucking creeps are dead. So, spoiler. So the coroners are driving, having this really raunchy discussion, and they end up hitting this poor, sweet cow and just, I mean, obliterating it. But it's a really devastating accident. So this is all just the setup for Michael's first kill of the movie. So during this scene, Michael gets up. He is unfazed by this accident, unfazed by the events of the last movie. He walks out. The driver is dead. He's totally
Oh my
liquefied.
god.
He couldn't be deader. But the jelly his cock up a dead girl's ass coroner, he is alive. But he's really badly injured, but that's not enough for Michael. So Michael, on his way to this guy who's just screaming for some reason, I would have laid there and kind of made peace with the situation, but he doesn't.
How
He's
you miss
just,
a whole cow? It was a whole
it
cow.
was a huge cow, and it's not even like that dark of a road. Like, it's pretty well lit, so they kind of got what was coming to them. But, rest in peace with the cow. But with this piece of glass, Michael goes up to this creepy coroner and he just really starts sawing his way through this coroner's neck with the piece of glass that he collected from this accident, and he decapitates him. Then, like a phoenix from the ashes, immediately we get our first shot of Sherry Moon Zombie as Deborah Meyer's ghost. Surprise! Sherry Moon Zombie is in this movie as a fucking ghost, you guys. She is a spirit who is communicating with Michael. And then also, she's wearing a long white dress and she has a fucking white horse because of course she does, right? This is how Michael saw her in his dream that one time when he was a kid. So I just want to give you guys fair warning. Rob Zombie is really about to shove Sherry Moon Zombie down our throats this entire movie. And I love her, but I think he could have used her a little bit differently.
Yeah, there's some things that would have made her a much cooler addition to this movie instead of just the ghost.
Right.
She's been cooler.
So we cut to the hospital where Lori was taken, and she is awake. She's very, very fucked up, but she is awake. And then we get our first glimpse of Nurse Ma, our girl.
Nurse Ma is in the building, y'all.
We love you, Nurse Ma. So Nurse Ma, of course, played by Octavia Spencer, who is Ma.
Who is Ma, and we will refer to her as Nurse Ma.
So Lori makes her way to Annie's room, and Annie is also very fucked up, but like kind of in a worse way because Annie got really super fucked up at the end of the last movie. She should have died, but she didn't. She's just kind of like in a mini coma right now. So for some reason, there's literally 3 people in this entire hospital. So Nurse Ma is talking to her friend who is a horror movie legacy character. So she is in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So she is talking to her, and once Lori like scooches past them, it's that nurse. She's like on her way out. All of this is setting up Michael's second on-screen kill. So I'm sad to say that we have to pour one out for Nurse Ma because she doesn't make it.
Nurse Ma.
I know. Rest in peace, my girl. We got to get shirts made. So Nurse Ma, after she's called away, she reappears like really 20 seconds later, and she is really dazed and she is bleeding profusely from like her nose and mouth area. So I'm not like entirely sure what's happened to her here, but I did pause it to get like a really good close up of her face, and you can see that one side of her nose is like split. I think Michael may have like slashed at her and cut her face, and she's just like in shock, really. And so she comes in and she starts screaming, and Lori sees this happening and dips. Lori offers no aid, no support. She calls no one. She's like, deuces.
Call that karma. Call that karma.
Right, I know. And she's like, you made me walk with this broken leg to my room. So Nurse Ma collapses, and then we see Michael turn the corner. And she's trying to crawl away, and I'm just like, Nurse Ma, just lay there, right? Like, just be still, and maybe he might just walk by you. But she doesn't. She's really struggling, and so then he proceeds to stab her really aggressively. It's like hitting floor underneath. Like, he's really, really giving it to her. And he stabs her like a dozen times before finally leaving the knife in her head. So while Lori is running away, she stumbles into a stairwell where she finds another dead hospital employee. Okay, this is Stretch, rest in peace. So this employee is extremely dead. Okay, so it's not even a situation where she can like, put the fingers to the neck and get the pulse. No, this employee's eyes are gouged out. And Lori is like, God, I get the fuck out of here. So she's like throwing herself down these stairs. And she gets to this unlocked exit door leading outside of the hospital. And so Michael is like hot on her heels. He takes this opportunity to grab an axe, and they make it a point of like showing you this so you know that he's going to use it. So this is the weapon that he's about to use from here on out. So we see a shot of Lori outside, and the parking lot is deserted. I mean, abandoned. And it's also like really locked up, like a military base. So Lori can't get out. So she's kind of trapped. So she makes her way to this little guard building on the premises and she's going to hide inside. As she gets there, just as the security guard buddy is pulling up, and he says that he's going to help Lori, but he can't help Lori, right? Because he can't even help himself. So he locks her in this little shack to keep her safe. And he's like, let me go get my car. I'll be right back. And he does make his way back. But as he's trying to get back into the shack, Michael comes up behind him and aggressively axes this old man in the back. Buddy is extremely dead. And so Lori hides under the desk because this building is very little. She has nowhere else to go. She is really trapped at this point. And you get the impression for a second that maybe Michael didn't see her, but that is not the case. Michael then proceeds to take an axe just to the entire building. I mean, he's just bursting through the wall, but then no, surprise. This is a nightmare that Lori is having. None of that was real. So, yay.
Nurse Ma lives another day.
I know. So in my mind, this is like a one big universe, and Nurse Ma actually like finished her shift that night and then went home to like drink in a basement with some kids.
With some teenagers. Nurse Ma definitely lives in the Rob Zombie Trailer Park verse.
Right. Yes, this trailer park multiverse
Multiverse.
that
Yes.
Rob Zombie has created.
She definitely got off of work, put on her hat, and
Fucking head.
and then bought herself bought herself and her teenage friends a six pack.
Right. Oh, well, good for Nurse Ma. We're glad that she made it out. She lived to see another day. So Lori wakes up in her bed, and it has been a year since the events of the first Halloween, and she's fine, except for the fact that she has white people dreadlocks. So I wrote my notes like, is she really fine? I don't think so.
She's showing signs of just insanity already.
Right. The answer is definitely no. So she is suffering from PTSD, which is understandable. We get this shot of her, and she's taking a ton of medications from this medicine cabinet in the grimiest bathroom that I've ever seen. So this is what we were talking about earlier. For some reason, Lori, she's now staying with Annie and Sheriff Brackett. They've taken her in, and this is where she's living. And for some reason, to thank them, she
Drew
vandalized.
on the walls with the worst graffiti I've ever seen.
Right. She
There's
just
no rhyme or reason. There's no like design.
she's graffitied these people's home, and I hate this. And she has those fucking dreadlocks. It's a lot. She's just going through a lot, and she's making very poor choices along the way. So we cut to a scene of Lori at her therapist, and this is where we learn that it is Halloween yet again. And then the therapist really drives it home that they never found Michael's body after the events of the first movie. She also takes the time to remind Lori about how her parents were brutally murdered. And I was like, I don't see how this is helping her. We see Dr. Loomis, and he's turned into just, I mean, a total asshole, which is unfortunate. So he's presumably about to give a talk to a bunch of journalists, and he is showing some old footage of Michael Myers. You know, he's telling Michael that his mother died. Michael has zero reaction to this, but to tell Dr. Loomis that it's okay because she's coming back and he's gonna see her again. And, you know, Dr. Loomis is like, I don't think you will. And he's like, no, I'm definitely going to see her again. And I was like, Rob Zombie, please. He's just, so this is foreshadowing the way that Rob is going to shoehorn Sherry Moon Zombie into this movie. He's like, please don't forget that my wife is on the payroll.
She's in this movie.
Right. So we also get some footage of Lori at her job, and this is at the wacky coffee shop bookstore record store
The
where she
mushroom.
works, aka the mushroom. And so she gets invited to a Halloween party by her coworkers. She has some new friends now. So we have Maya and Harley, and we're going to meet them. And
I hate them.
they're
A
interesting.
choice?
Right.
They're a choice.
They were definitely a choice.
The female dialogue is so weird.
I agree.
And the young female dialogue is even worse.
I agree.
Because he says things like, I think is it Harlot that says, too coolio for schoolio?
And nobody actually says those things.
I know there's things in movies that take people out of it. When I hear that, I'm just like, that's such a Rob Zombie thing. He loves the 60s and the 70s. That's such a Rob Zombie thing to say that no one else says but Rob Zombie. No one's too coolio for schoolio.
No.
We just skip class.
Sorry, Mom. So, all right, so let's get back to it. So, Dr. Loomis's shit with the journalists. So, the journalists are asking Dr. Loomis, do you feel responsible for all the people that Michael has killed? To which Dr. Loomis is
Dr. Loomis said, bitch, you sound stupid.
That's almost an exact quote.
If anything, I saved the life because I saved that young girl.
And he believes that with every fiber of his being, right? He is unhinged at this point because he's like, how dare you?
Who I am? I am Gail Weathers, author of the Woodsboro Brothers.
Stop. Wrong movie. Not in my movie.
Okay. Not in this movie. But he's just
as dramatic. So they also ask him, they keep bringing up, like, the police never found Michael's body. Do you think he's still alive?
Michael Myers is dead. D-E-A-D. Well, Sherry Moon Zombie was dead. And surprise, surprise.
And surprise. But I was like, don't you think it's weird, Dr. Loomis, that they didn't find his body? Like, it never crossed your mind? I don't know. Was he just fooling himself? Or is he just a fucking idiot?
When you know you shot him in that pool 3 times and he got up and still got in that ass,
then that should have made you think twice. So he's going off the rails here. Like, he's talking about how dead Michael is. And so then we cut to a very alive Michael Myers, who is obviously not dead.
Not as dead as Loren.
Not nearly. So we see this happens a lot in this movie. Michael Myers, he's like walking through a field in the fucking afternoon sun, and he is maskless. You see his face straight up. Rob Zombie shows Michael's face almost more in this movie than he does with the mask on. And John Carpenter was somewhere punching the air. He was furious.
He was fucking shaking his fist at a cloud, old man.
He was pissed.
I don't mind it though. So this is my stance on it. When I think about the Rob Zombie universe, the motherfucker was talking last time. We've seen him talk. We've seen him holler. We've seen him sit at a table and eat candy corns. So at this point,
to see his face is nothing.
It's just like, oh yeah, okay, whatever. It's at the least of concerns.
I know, right? It's like the least offensive thing that he could have done with the character. Michael's walking through this field. I guess the 100 miles it takes him to get to Haddonfield, because Michael spends literally an hour and like 4 minutes of this movie just fucking hoofing it, traveling on foot because Rob Zombie didn't want him to drive.
But my question with that, Ruth, is where the hell was he? How far did he get
Where
in that?
was he?
How far did he get in that goddamn coroner's van?
Because I'm like, where the fuck is the
Where
morgue?
were they taking them?
I don't know. I mean, I thought that was crazy, right? He's literally walking this entire movie. He is traveling, and his sense of direction is impeccable too, because he makes it to Haddonfield. But it's like
On time.
on
So,
time, Halloween
was-
night. So that is the thing. So Michael Myers in I think every like other universe of Michael, he drives, and I never liked that. I don't like in H2O, this man travels like cross country in a car, and I was like, well, how the fuck did he learn how to drive? Because Dante, it's not that intuitive, and I know before you were like, oh, it's not that hard, but then like you didn't know how to drive
for years.
for years. If you were in the left lane and we needed to take an exit that was on the right, you would pass that bitch up and we would have to keep driving. You lane changes were out of the question. So yeah, don't even get me started. So yeah, so I do appreciate Rob Zombie trying to keep it, I guess, realistic that like this man would not know how to drive. Okay, so Michael's walking through this field, right? And so we cut to a scene of Michael meeting up with Deborah Myers, his ghost mother, in her fucking long white dress, and she's telling him and simultaneously his child self, stick with me you guys, that it's Halloween again and he has to get ready because she's counting on him to like bring them all home. And Michael promises her that he won't let her down. So by bring us all home, he means her, him, child him, and of course Lori, because as we know, Lori is Boo, his little sister.
You know who could have got a cameo? Finally, Judith. Judith
Okay,
still don't get no love.
y'all. And it's like the crazy thing is, like, Deborah Myers was very upset. Remember in the first one, Judith is dead and she's like, my baby! And she's like so upset. She's crying over her as they're like wheeling out her corpse. She's never mentioned again. It's like she might as well have not existed.
It's like, this is the one movie where Judith could have got just a little bit of a cameo after that first scene, and they were just like, nah, Judith Myers is dead. And they're like, yeah, but so is fucking Deborah. And they were like, yeah, but Judith is dead. It's just the Lord of the
Rob
story.
was
Sorry.
like, that's different. And he was like, if you want to come back in this movie, you better shut your fucking mouth. My thing is, like, we probably don't see her for a lot of reasons, but probably because I think Michael just hated her. He doesn't want her there.
He killed her.
He killed her, yeah. So this next scene this is one of those things where, and I really didn't quite appreciate this about this movie, and it's like this in this one and the first Halloween that he did. We've talked about this before. I hate unnecessary kills in a movie. I feel like these next kills are in the movie to kind of, because not a lot of people are going to want to watch a horror movie, like especially like a Halloween movie, Michael Myers, and have him walking for an hour and 4 minutes with just like no kills in that time, right? Because realistically, he's not in Haddonfield. He's in these fields. He shouldn't be killing anybody. But they kind of force this scene in here to give the audience, something to like look at. And I always hate in movies where they do this because it's, and I think we agree on this point, is that I don't necessarily equate more kills with a scarier or like a better movie. Because if you look at movies just like the original Halloween or like Scream 1996, they don't have a lot of kills at all. The necessary kills, like, it's really bare bones, and they're scarier in my opinion than this movie. You know what I mean? So we're cutting to these 3 hillbillies in a truck. And this is presumably their land that Michael is trespassing on. And so they consider him an intruder. So they are going to approach him and just like beat the shit out of him to get him off their land.
Good luck.
Right, because this man is like
He's
7
6'8".
feet. Right. And like he's swole too. Like he's not a skinny guy. I mean, he's quite intimidating. So there's these two elderly hillbilly men and one hillbilly lady. And the men walk up to Michael and they start hitting him with a tire iron and a bat. And Michael goes down. He just lays there. And he's just like taking this ass beating, but he's plotting the whole time, right? Because he's like, damn, this is mad disrespectful. I'm not gonna let them disrespect me like this. So of course this is setting up Michael's 4th, 5th, 6th on-screen kills. So they beat him up and they go to leave. They turn their back on him. He comes up and he slices one guy just across the face. He aggressively stabs another guy in the stomach, and then he kind of pushes him down on the antlers that these guys have hung on the front of their car, impaling him. So then he goes back to the guy with the sliced face, who didn't take this opportunity to run away, which was a mistake on his part. And he just like aggressively stabs him while he's on the ground. So then
He's grunting, right? Is he grunting right now?
he's grunting because he's angry, right? He just got his ass beat, and so he's stabbing hard. And there's the hillbilly woman who was not a part of the beat, so you'd think that he would go easier on her.
Nah, he had a dang Trejo that bitch.
Yeah, so as we already know, and Danny Trejo can attest to this from the first movie, it doesn't matter how hard you ride for Michael. If you defend him, protect him, stand up for him, you can get it. The hands are rated E for everybody. Because he then pulls this woman out of the car and he stabs her really ferociously, but also like slowly. So it's taking her a while to die. He's really methodical about it. And so then he goes to the back where they had a dog in a kennel. And I hate this. And we don't see him kill this dog, but we know that he does because the next shot that we get, we see that he's brought the dog back to this barn where he's living and he starts eating the dog's like intestines and stuff. And so this is a callback to in the first movie. I think they find a dead dog in the Myers home, the abandoned Myers home, and so it's just kind of assumed that Michael's been like eating this dead dog. They bring it up in the Halloween kills, right? When they get flashbacks to that night, they bring up the dog again.
Yes.
Because yeah, Michael eats dead dogs. Meanwhile, we cut to dinner with Lori, Annie, and Sheriff Brackett, and they're eating a pizza dinner, and it's like a really sweet, wholesome scene. We find out Lori's a vegetarian, so this is kind of significant. As the dinner scene is unfolding and Michael's dog intestine eating scenes, they're kind of entwined, right? So Lori like jumps up from the table and she goes to vomit and Annie kind of comes to take care of her. And I think that this was like Rob Zombie trying to show that the two are connected.
Unfortunately.
Right. So they like because Michael is eating this like raw meat. This is causing Lori to get really sick. So then we get this. There's like this hallucination scene. So we cut to Michael and he's sitting in a barn and he starts to have this very bizarre black and white dream hallucination sequence. And he's just kind of like zoning out here. We see child him, the institutionalized version of him, and he's sitting at a visitor's table in the psychiatric hospital. And there's like this big cross in the room, and we see Deborah Myers in this long black dress with a veil, and he's like, "I want to show you something." And so we see this skeleton with Michael's mask on, and then we see a table with like pumpkin people, pumpkin faced people at it, just like eating and drinking. And I was like, I don't know if I'm just like an idiot and I'm not really not really understanding what Rob Zombie is trying to convey here. But I was like, okay, pumpkin faced people. And we see Lori lying on the table. And Michael tells his mom, he's like, look, I found Boo. Because we know that Lori's name before she was adopted, the nickname they had for her was Boo. And he asks if they could be a family again. And Sherry says, not yet. And a bunch of hands shoot out from the table and they kind of grab Lori. And so Lori on this table is like screaming and struggling. And so then we cut to Lori in her room and she is waking up from yet another nightmare. So she was having this nightmare of this event happening as well. So now we get some on-screen text that reads October 30th. Now Dr. Loomis is at the Myers house and he's going to do some promo for the book that he's written about Michael Myers and the experience that he had from the year prior. And his assistant, who the only person with some sense, is pointing out that this whole thing is like really in poor taste. And Dr. Loomis is not trying to hear all that noise. Okay, so he's just trying to get his paper. Like they're really driving home that Dr. Loomis is like a piece of shit now. So now we cut to Lori, who is hallucinating herself, killing Annie, the same way that Michael killed Ronnie. His mom's boyfriend in the first movie, the way he duct taped him to a chair and then he had on the clown costume and he slit his throat. And then Lori proceeds to have this like seizure while she's hallucinating. And we get lots of shots of Annie dying, her, like Lori with an upside down cross on her head, screaming that she would kill Annie. We see Ghost Deborah Myers in a black dress standing over a coffin. And Lori is in the coffin and she's like banging on it and she can't get out. And just, the only thing I'm thinking is like, God, this therapist is doing a really poor job.
She's so fucking useless.
She is failing Lori.
This was a way to have a creative, almost avant-garde.
Okay, so yeah, so Rob Zombie, and we talk about this because we're going to talk about House of a Thousand Corpses on another podcast, so that's already lined up. Rob Zombie, he likes that. And it's very creative, all these shots, these like extra shots of things, it doesn't fit in this movie per se, but he does stuff like this in like House of a Thousand Corpses too, where it's just like these extra shots of these really kind of out there
things.
like, yeah.
You've seen Lords of Salem?
Yeah.
That's the one I really like. I think it's like his best movie, personally. So it's just so different, and he when I see those people at the table, it makes me think about Lord of Salem. Like he kind of like start having that idea when he was shooting this. Like, it'd be kind of cool if I had something like this. I'm just always at a loss when it comes to like some of the stuff, some of the choices in this, because I know we talked about very early in the podcast. He probably felt very stifled with having to stick to that Haddonfield lore. And I think with this one, he was just like balls to the wall. It's just like, what fucking ever I feel like doing, if I want to have this scene. And I know that also there's it's been said before that he lost like maybe countless hours of this movie. He had to reshoot it. So I think
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, he lost a lot of the film. So there were some scenes that were recorded, like written day of. Here's the script, read it, we're about to shoot the scene. I think to myself, there's sure enough thought that he probably looks at it and goes, yeah, that was some first draft shit.
Right. Yeah, I mean that makes sense, and I'm sure that there was like probably if he like lost some of the movie, and then feeling very frustrated, I think, with the experience that he had with the first movie. Because I think he like almost didn't even want to come back for this movie.
No, they offered him a lot of money and complete control.
Right. So yeah, so this scene was like pretty out there, but we see a news clip of Dr. Loomis and he gives us this like little bit of foreshadowing by saying freaks will always find their way home when asked if he thinks Michael's body will ever reappear. And I just thought that was such a weird fucking response to that question.
And so strange because you literally told us earlier in the movie that Michael Myers is dead.
Right. Like, I wonder if Dr. Loomis really believed that, or if he just like really didn't want to admit that Michael could still be alive because he's already getting all this heat for like being responsible for Michael doing, you know, he had the chance to kill him and he didn't kill him, and that's embarrassing.
There's just so much to the Dr. Loomis character in this movie. It's almost like he could have literally let him die at the end of the first one and brought in a new character.
I agree. I 100% agree, because when you see this Dr. Loomis, you're like, who the fuck is this guy? You know what I mean?
It's,
Like
it's so weird. It's like, why
it's
would
weird.
that experience
Turn you into
to
this.
this? That's what was weird about it. I was like, this would be a better, in my opinion, this would have been a better storyline if Loomis would have died and then you would have had
Dr.
almost
Sartain.
a Sartain before Sartain,
Right.
who came in and kind of was just very, money hungry, and he could be whatever because he's a new character.
Right. Yeah. It was a bizarre take on a character that we kind of know. You know what I mean? Like Dr. Loomis, besides Laurie, is the most developed character in this franchise, and to
And
make him this.
his story is he is the one trying to always contain Michael.
Right.
That's his thing. Michael is this.
In
Michael,
every like
it's a
iteration of
thing.
him.
Michael is this thing to him. He's just always trying to keep this thing from being, from getting around to other people. This is what Dr. Loomis does. So if you didn't want that, then just the character, Dr. Loomis' eyes almost got gouged out in that last movie. You
Yeah.
know, so he could have easily just been dead.
Yeah, he could have died. But I guess he didn't because he couldn't, right? Because he didn't die in the original, and they were really like holding Rob Zombie to this very formulaic, like it really had to line up with the original.
Yeah, but after you woke up from that dream in the hospital, I mean, all bets have been off.
True. Yeah, you're right, because like as we know, that hospital scene was put in this movie because we know, and anybody that doesn't know, the original Halloween 2 is set entirely in a hospital. And so that's about seeing that the dream sequence in the beginning in the hospital, that was Rob Zombie kind of, he was like, okay, for posterity's sake, I put it in there, but now I'm washing my hands of it. This is not going to be at all like John Carpenter's Halloween. Like, I think that was kind of him, like, he was severing ties with that. He was like, it was a dream. She wakes up, she's out of the hospital, and now I'm going to do my own thing. And so because he's doing his own thing, you're right. I almost prefer Dr. Loomis just not fucking be involved.
Well, you can do your own, but you can't go too off the rails with this one because you created the first one and it was so formulaic. So now it's everything is just too bizarre. So Dr. Loomis is he's too much of an asshole. Laurie is too insufferable.
Oh my god, we don't talk
God.
about that enough. But let's keep going, because we're about to get into all that. So
Yeah.
He says this thing, the freaks will always find his way home. And so then we cut to the Rabbit and Red Lounge. So this is Michael is in, the Haddonfield area. This is the strip club where Deborah Myers used to work. This scene was absolutely unnecessary in this movie. But just like the hillbilly scene, this was another way to like pad the kill count, in my opinion. Pad the runtime and pad the kill count because we didn't need these kills. I mean, they were fun. I know you like this scene, but
I just am wondering now when you said pat the time. I'm always thinking to myself now. I wonder why he starts his movie so much in advance of Halloween. Like, why is it never just
he really does,
Halloween? Like,
right?
why is it never just the Halloween day?
Right. Like the original. I don't know. Cuz
He's
we
just
could
like,
cuz he could have taken out everything up until Michael getting to like Haddonfield. He could have taken out because now we get a title card when it turns October 30th, and we get a title card when it turns October 31st. I think it was the movie starts on the 29th, 33rd. That's too damn long. We do not need. I don't need to see Michael walking for 2 days.
He's like a 3-day weekend.
That's see right. It's too much.
I'm so
But
sad I got PTO to use, man.
so I better use it. Shit, you know, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Use it or lose it, man. So that's just how you say it. I'm just thinking to myself, like, yeah. But Raven and Red, that they had those matches in the first movie, and that was so,
Right.
you know,
This is Deborah Meyer's thing, and I know that we talked about it before, and you were like, "This is something straight out of like House of a Thousand Corpses," and I agree because I'm pretty sure that this strip club, if it was in House of a Thousand Corpses, I'd be like, it fits so much better here than in like Halloween too.
right.
But this scene, while unnecessary, is giving us an excuse to see Michael's it's seventh, eighth, and ninth kills. So we see Michael barefaced again for the sixth kill. So there's this like lackey strip club employee who he's like peeing outside, and Michael comes up on him and he tries to hit Michael, which is so fucking laughable.
It's so cute, man. That's so cute.
I know, he really did his best for a thing. So
He
Michael,
probably pissed his pants.
he
I
probably
would piss it.
did. It's probably so pissy out there. Michael's standing all in it. But so
Oh,
Michael slams him to the ground and he stomps on his head until it's like jelly. His head explodes like a fucking watermelon. So, for some strange reason, because if you thought she was gone, you are fucking mistaken. Ghost Sherry Moon Zombie and Child Michael Myers are also there for these kills. And they go into the club and we get some gratuitous nudity, which Rob Zombie does that a lot too. Michael Myers, he kills the club owner. He breaks his arm so badly, like the bone sticks out, and I always hate that. That bothers me when bone comes through skin. And so then he slams his head against a wall. He's dead. There is a stripper who is running away, topless, of course, and she runs out, and we see that Michael, because this is something that will forever be a part of Michael Myers. He does some like hijinksy, like goofy shit all the time for no reason. He has the like lackey employee's body like strung up in the club for no reason. It was totally unnecessary, but he always likes to do some weird shit with the bodies. So she sees that, she's like shocked by it. So he grabs her and then he kills her by repeatedly smashing her face into a mirror. Michael then switches off the strip club's sign from open to close. And I was like,
Mike out here saving lives.
but I'm like, did his mom tell him to kill these people? Why did he do this? What was the point?
What do you think is happening with the child Michael and the mom Michael? Like, is he just literally losing his mind at this point?
Okay, so it's giving Jason vibes with how Jason, he was a child, he drowned at Camp Crystal Lake, and then subsequently, after his mom is killed, he is like brought back it's like in this supernatural way. And so basically his mom is, it's always in his head. His mom is pushing him. She's like this, it's like this supernatural force that's like pushing him to do these things. I think that, yes, I think Michael, first of all, I think Michael's always been insane. So let's start there. But I think now he is also, after not having really dealt with like the loss of his mother, I think it's like this is the way that his insanity is manifesting himself. He's seeing his mom, and then he's seeing like the, I guess, child, like I guess innocent version of himself that was lost. Like this, that's where time stopped for him. Is like he got locked up, and then that was like the last time he was with his mom. After that, he's just kind of like lost. Not that he was normal before. I mean, he was already killing people.
Are we just supposed to have read that beginning quote in the movie and then just understand these things? Or is there no context behind it and it's just that he needed more scenes with his wife? Because for
Dante, I'm
me,
gonna
and
be
I think
honest with you. That's such a good question. I really don't even know if I can answer it. I think he really wanted Sherry Musabi in this bitch.
I just think to myself, like, okay, so is Michael having a nervous breakdown? We're seeing him and Laurie both having nervous breakdowns together. Is that what it is? And now they see their mother. Laurie wouldn't even know who that woman is. It's so puzzling.
So this is the this is the quote. So for everybody, so White Horse, linked to instinct, purity, and the drive of the physical body to release powerful and emotional forces like rage with ensuing chaos and destruction.
You know, I don't fuck with John Carpenter. I have a lot of things to say about him and his stuff when it comes to his franchise. But I will stand with him when he says you take away the mystique, because it's almost like you took away the mystique, and what are you doing with it? There's so many things going on in this movie, you know, and it would have been better if, okay, maybe he did talk when we saw him as a kid in the first one, but then he stopped talking. But now we like watching him play in his mind. But why?
Why? I know
Why did you bring her back into this movie this way? Could we have just seen flashbacks?
I would have appreciated it more, so much more, if it had been in flashback. Because the scenes that we do get of him in the institution in this movie, they're new. Like
they're new anyway.
Right.
So that's what we were saying earlier when we were like, I know I said, I was like, there's just ways he could have used her better.
I
if you
agree.
want to have her in the movie, that's your prerogative, man. Bobby Brown not the only one who have one. But what I'm saying is, why did you create this lore that Michael sees himself as a kid and his dead mom, when we literally could just be watching flashbacks of stuff where we as the audience would be getting more information, but Michael would just be Michael.
Right. Right.
It was a very bizarre choice.
It was a bizarre choice. And I almost wonder if he hadn't had such a negative experience with the first one, such a negative experience with John Carpenter, if he hadn't lost footage for this movie, like, would we have gotten a different movie? Because at a certain point, it almost feels like he's like, fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just about to, I'm on some other shit now.
I'm on some other shit now.
Right, with this movie, because I'm like, some of the stuff that he does, I mean, it's so creative, and we love Rob Zombie for his creativity, but sometimes it's like, you should have made a different movie. You could have not come back for Halloween 2, and you could have made a movie with all of this stuff.
About a serial killer who is struggling with, the loss of his mother.
Right. And it would have worked, and we would have loved it.
Because it would have been, in the Trailer Park Multiverse.
Which we love.
Which we love, but it would have been this, because this, it's not even about being a Halloween purist.
It's bizarre.
Filler shit.
it feels like filler shit. It's 100% feels like filler shit. And then it's like it's giving very much like Jason's mom getting him to kill people essentially that she doesn't like. It's like Sherry Moon Zombie is using Michael in this scene to kill her old boss and coworkers. That seems crazy to me.
From
Doesn't make any
15 years
sense.
ago?
Right. That seems really fucking bizarre. But that's the
Yeah.
only reason that I could think of that he does it, right? And then he switches the like sign off from like open to close. He's like closing this strip club. I just think that's really weird.
Is it because she had to work that night and she couldn't take you trick or treating? You, Rob Zombie, wanted us to think. So now we're just thinking, and I'm just like, I'm baffled by it.
I just want to know what his visual. If I really want to know if this is the vision
that he had
that
from
he
the
had,
get go,
right?
Or was this a first draft thing?
Right. And he was just really ready to be kind of done with it.
Yeah.
So let's get back to it. So after Michael kills the strip club people, turns the sign from open to close, we get a title screen and it is now October 31st. Fucking finally. We're finally, the name of the movie is Halloween. We just made it to Halloween, okay? It's been a long road. We get a shot of Sheriff Brackett, and he is reading Dr. Loomis's book, which has finally dropped. And he is very pissed. And so he immediately tries to reach Lori at their home, and she isn't there. And it is presumably to tell Lori to warn her about the stuff that's in the contents of this book, okay? In the book, Dr. Loomis, without telling anybody, without consulting anybody, without fair warning, this presumably to tell Lori that she is Michael's sister because she does not know that yet. Sheriff Brackett does not get in touch with her in time. Lori sees that Dr. Loomis's book is out. She gets it. And like us, she's able to pound that bitch in one fucking sitting. Just a couple of hours and she's done. And so she finds out before anybody can tell her that she is Michael's sister. And it has a profound effect on her. She is very upset by this. And so this is going to send Lori on like a downward spiral. She doesn't take the news well. So we cut to the scene of Dr. Loomis, who is signing books, and Linda's father, Lori's friend who was murdered in the first movie, he's waiting for him
Like
at the door. Oh my god! So at the door. So and then Dr. Loomis, who's just like such an utter asshole. So Linda's father gives him a picture of Linda. And he's like, do you recognize this girl? And Dr. Loomis is like, no, should I? And so this just doesn't sit right with her father. Her father blames Dr. Loomis for Linda's death. And he just like pulls a fucking gun on it.
What's so crazy about that is in the sequence of movie, it really isn't Dr. Loomis' fault that Michael escaped. But everything after that has made him so fucking like reprehensible that it's almost like you need to get shot.
At this point, we would have, I mean, at the very least, I would have liked to have seen him pistol whipped. But Dr. Loomis still does not get it. Like he just is really doubling down on
You
being
don't
an
have
asshole.
any pictures of Linda in that book?
How is that possible? Or are you just that much of an asshole? Like, did he not put together the photos?
Definitely not.
So, meanwhile, Lori is having an utter meltdown because not only is she Michael's sister, and that's really traumatic for her, but she feels betrayed because Sheriff Brackett didn't tell her. He knew. And they've been living together. So the sheriff is kind of getting bad vibes. So he can tell that something's going on. This book came out, it's Halloween Day, it's not sitting right with him. So he tells a cop to sit outside of his house to watch over Annie. And we already know in horror movies, there's gonna be fodder cops. And so this guy is a lamb being sent to slaughter. So we cut to a scene of Lori, and she is explaining to her friends, Maya and Harley, that she read in the book that she is in fact Angel Myers, Michael Myers' sister. And she just doesn't really know how to process this information. We cut
These
back.
two bitches,
They
think it's
aren't
cool.
right. They're not helping. I wish she'd talked to anybody else. Because she went to the house and she saw Annie, who has absolutely no idea what's going on. Because Annie was like, bitch, I was a baby when you were a baby too. How the fuck am I supposed to know? But she also blames Annie. You know, like she's just mad at Annie. So that was really sad because that probably would have been the person that she should talk to, right? But no, she talks to these two. So
Stupid ass.
this is where shit is about to go down, right? So it has taken us one whole entire hour and 3 minutes of the film to get to this. Michael has finally arrived. And so at this point, Rob Zombie, people love recreating the scene, but Rob Zombie loosely recreates the scene from the original Halloween movie where the little boy like runs straight into Michael because he kids trick-or-treating all around, and the little boy, he like stops in his tracks like right in front of Michael, and he asks,
Are
he's
you
like,
a giant? Can we be friends?
I
His
told you
sister's
how
like,
much I hate children.
his sister is like, don't talk to strangers.
Right,
Cause she
because
probably like that bitch stink. That motherfucker
she's
stink.
probably like, look at this fucking guy. He probably still has like dog blood in his beard. It's just, look, like I know he's musty. Dante,
She did everything but held her nose and said "pu."
I know she was probably holding her breath. And she was like, "Come on, we gotta get the fuck out of here." And this dude fucking stinks. But she like whisked this little kid away, and so I was like, I mean, I definitely like the original scene better because if I was a child, I'd be terrified of this fucking dude. He has dog guts on his fucking shirt, and he's 8 feet tall. But whatever. Rob Zombie made it a cute little thing. So now we cut to Lori and her friends drinking, and Lori, you know, instead of processing the information that she's just gotten from this book, she says, fuck it. And she doesn't care about anything anymore, and she just wants to party. So she and her two friends get dressed up in some Rocky Horror Picture Show costumes, and I'm sure Rob Zombie fucking loves that movie. It screams Rob Zombie.
Wait, they all were Rocky Horror Picture?
They were, yes. So I think Harley is Frankenfurter. I think that, if I'm not mistaken, Maya is this character Columbia, and then I think Lori is this character Magenta. So they are all dressed up as Rocky Horror Picture Show characters, which was cute. And so they're gonna go to this weird barn rave with like topless women dancing. It was very bizarre. And so Lori decides to just double fist drinks because again, she doesn't care anymore. And so Harley meets a guy, and we get what I thought was like a very like loose recreation of Linda's death scene. I think it was like inspired by that. So Harley, who is playing like the wild slutty friend, which is like what Linda was in the original, she leaves the party to go to a van with this guy that she met, and they're going to have sex. And so this scene is used to give us Michael's 10th on-screen kill. So this guy leaves the van to go pee in the woods, so you already know he's about to die. Michael comes up behind him, and he just aggressively stabs him one time in the back, and he's dead. It's probably the most merciful way Michael's killed anyone in this entire movie. So then Michael's 11th on-screen kill is Laurie's friend Harley. He breaks through the back window in the van, and he grabs her, and he just like violently shakes her to death. Like she strangles, shakes, breaks her hyoid bone. The movie quiets down a lot so you can actually hear the extremely loud hyoid bone break. And so she's dead. So meanwhile in the party, Lori is really fucked up and she's going through it. And so she starts hallucinating ghost Deborah Myers and child Michael Myers. And it's like snowing. And this is very bizarre, right? Because you made a good point earlier. She would have no idea who these people are, right? I mean, I guess she must have seen their pictures in the book. I can only assume that that's why she would even have an inkling of who she was. I don't know why she would be seeing her in like ghost form.
Why would her breakdown be
Deborah
Michael as a
Myers?
kid and her Deborah Myers? Because why wouldn't her breakdown be like zombie Mr. Strode? Why wouldn't her breakdown
Yeah, I
be
don't
Linda?
fucking
You know, why wouldn't her
right.
breakdown be, you know, something like that? Like that to me is where it's just like we we keep saying it. It's like this is when you're using Sherry Moon too much. You know, maybe they are both having a nervous breakdown, but her nervous breakdown wouldn't be that. That's weird. That wouldn't make sense. Her breakdown would be somebody that she fucking met.
I guess, right. And I guess it's like, I think he's just really trying to drive home. And this probably really pissed John Carpenter off too. Because remember, so John Carpenter didn't make the connection between Michael and Laurie until the second film because he was like drunk and didn't really know what else to put in the script. He never wanted to make
That's
that
a lie.
movie. That's what he
That's a
said.
damn lie.
So
But allegedly.
allegedly. So he said that he regrets that decision. He regrets it.
He saw that he thought that shit was fire when he did it. He was like, "Oh, I'm about to
I know,
I'm about to fuck the
right?
game up on this one. I'm about to
But
fuck the game up."
like he did really, but he like cemented that in the franchise history, and now he's like, I hate
I
it.
don't like it.
I wish it never happened, and so that's why we get this new trilogy that doesn't make
Well, we
sense.
gonna. Oh, don't you worry.
We'll
We
get
gonna get
into
on
that.
you.
We'll get into that later, but so he regretted that decision. And so I'm like, I bet that really pissed him off because they're not only is Rob Zombie making them siblings, because in everybody's mind besides John Carpenter, they are siblings, but he's making them siblings and also giving them this, like, I guess, telepathic connection in some way. Like, I think that's why he's doing that, to really, like, drive home that they're like one. They're becoming like this one entity. And he kind of doubles down on it towards the end too, which we're going to get to. But so she asks Ghost Deborah Myers, she's like, "What do you want from me?" You know? And Ghost Deborah Myers responds that she wants her to come home and that Lori will be ready soon. And I'm like, what? And so Lori flips out at this party, super embarrassing for Maya because she has to like stop her from screaming in the middle of this party. But then while all of that is happening, we get, this is something that doesn't make sense. And I give Rob Zombie, you know, a lot of the other stuff I can chalk it up to like maybe creativity. This doesn't make sense to me. Michael fucking, I mean, like 100-meter dashes, Usain Bolt's from this party that's in the middle of this like field at this barn to Annie's house.
A place how does he know where she lives?
This is not where she lived in the original movie. He should have no idea where this place is. But additionally, if you're being pulled to Lori, if that's what's leading you here, she's at the party. You were just at the party. You left the party where she was. If you wanted to take her, you could have taken her here. This scene doesn't make sense to me because I've always felt like either he is going to go to the house or he's going to go to the party. It doesn't make sense that he does both. And that's because it's like Rob Zombie wanted to get the kills. Like he wanted to kill her friends. So he wanted to like do the recreation of Linda dying and he wanted to kill Harley. But he also, for some reason, really, really, really wanted Andy to die. And that's fine, I guess. I wish that he hadn't killed her, but it's like you can't, it doesn't make sense to have both. Right?
Well, how did he get there so fast?
How did he get there so fast?
He killed Harley, Harley,
Harley.
and whatever, and Joe Blow. He killed them and then immediately left to go to Annie's house. He just knows Lori's address now because he saw it in the book. Back when for that shit in the book, probably.
But stop, because he clearly didn't care about legal ramifications. But my thing is like, I don't even think Dr. Loomis knows where Lori lives. It doesn't make sense that that Lori is living at somebody else's house. That doesn't make sense.
Well, you know he killed her parents.
Right, he did. But if you like, you could say that he's drawn to her, and I'll give you that. Okay, so if you want to make it like there's this supernatural connection between the two, and he's drawn to her, and that is what drew him to the party, because there's absolutely zero reason he should have been at this party. If you want to say that's what drew him to the party because she's there, I'll give you that. But to draw him to the house, like to totally leave her, to ignore her. She could have not gone home that night. She was mad at Annie. She was mad at the sheriff. She could have just slept at Maya's house. She could have never gone back to that house. What is drawing him to this house? It doesn't make sense for him to leave her to go somewhere else.
I mean, I guess Anne just had to die so we can have this cool scene.
Right. He just really, and I do like this scene. And I feel like we could have kept this scene. I would have preferred this. I just wish that they totally cut the party kill. But it just, I guess the part that really bothers me is that he left Lori, and his goal this entire time has been to get to Lori. It doesn't make sense to me.
No, I know.
So Michael fucking teleports to Annie's house, and we're gonna get, this is our 12th on-screen kill. So he walks up behind the fodder cop that the sheriff asked to guard his house, and who's doing a piss poor job of it. But he puts a rope around his neck, and he like strangles him / snaps his hyoid bone. Hear it break. Rob Zombie likes to do that. So inside the house, Annie's going about her business. Finally, the only person we've seen in this entire film run a bath. She's trying to do that. And then while she's walking, we as the audience are getting glimpses of ghost Deborah Myers and child Micah Myers. So we obviously know that Annie is about to die. And I didn't like this. I felt like it was too heavy-handed. I wish that he could have left her out of this scene and it could have just kind of unfolded the way that it does. Like, we weren't sure that it was going to happen, but this is Michael's 13th, and it's a partially on-screen kill. So Annie opens the medicine cabinet, and when she closes it,
she smells something strong.
Wait, that's what really. So she closes the medicine cabinet, and we as the audience notice that Michael's there because we can see his reflection in the mirror. Man, Annie hasn't seen him yet, but she gets a whiff of something really fucking musty. So it causes her to look over. So she sees him and she starts to run. Okay, so she starts to run out of the bathroom. She's screaming, but we see him chase Annie, and it is a really cool shot. I did like what they did with this scene. The audio cuts out in the movie and you just hear Annie screaming, and then we don't really see her die right then and there. We get shots of the scene in like flashbacks over the next few minutes. So he grabs her. We know she's going to die. Lori arrives home with her friend Maya, and she is seeing the aftermath of the attack. So she walks into the house and it's like the area is like trashed. And we as the audience are watching, her death unfold. He like incapacitates her and then just starts trashing the house. Like just starts throwing stuff over. Like he's just like losing it.
He's
And
having a nervous breakdown.
he really is. And he's having like we get like a mini Sherry Moon zombie hallucination. And she's telling Michael, she's like, let's have some fun. And that's when he goes over to like attack Annie. And I just thought that was like a weird touch.
Only a river of blood can bring us together.
Right.
So
Okay.
are they killing everybody in Laurie's life so that she's only alone? Is it Candyman now?
No. So yes, I do think that is something to do with it. I do think that they are trying to make her. They're trying to push her over a precipice as well. In which case, I reiterate, the strip club kills made no sense. I guess Deborah didn't get her last check. And so she was like mad about that. She's like, let's kill this bitch. So
He may help work on Judah's funeral.
oh right. Or he like made her clean the bathrooms or something. So Laurie opens the bathroom door to find Annie on the floor. She's barely alive. There's blood everywhere. And she sends Maya to call 911. And so, of course, Maya's grabbed while she's on the phone with 911. And we get Michael's 14th on screen kill. So he throws Maya on this table and he stabs her so aggressively, you can hear the knife hitting the table underneath her. It just goes straight through. And so Laurie is holding Annie, and Annie doesn't make it. She dies in Laurie's arms. And before Laurie really even has any time to grieve Annie, Michael just starts to break down the bathroom door that Laurie is in. And so she is able to escape and she runs into the woods. We get another shot of ghost Deborah Myers watching this unfold. And then the sheriff comes home and he finds Annie, and it is a very heartbreaking scene. He's very upset because he almost lost her last year and now she's dead. And scenes like this, we were talking about this earlier about how there's really not a lot of redeemable characters in these movies. Like a lot of these people are like pieces of shit. We don't like most of these characters, but Annie and Sheriff Brackett were characters that are very likable. I feel like we didn't get enough of them. We didn't get a chance to connect with them as much, and I think the movie would have been better for it because I don't think that it's realistic for a movie for just everybody you encounter be a piece of shit.
Whether it's realistic or not, it's not enjoyable to watch.
Well, yeah. True.
It's a movie. You got to have somebody that people can say, let me resonate with. And I guess he's just thinking like there was no redeemable characters in Devil's Rejects. Like everybody is terrible in that movie, but they're funny.
Right. I mean, I enjoyed them.
When she turns around and babies tell her about say, look in 30 miles, I'm gonna want some Tutti Frutti ice cream. So you know. Tutti's fucking fruity. Like these are reprehensible characters, but they're having fun. There's nothing fun about what her name was again? Harley, Sawyer,
Harley and Maya.
Maya. They're not interesting. Dr. Loomis is like, so unpleasant.
He's unhinged.
So it's like you get so little. Yeah, you get so little Dr. Brackett. Sheriff Brackett gets so little Annie. It's just like, man, this is it ain't good, And then you got fucking Deborah Myers with her Deathless 5.
Ghost. Oh my god. And don't forget the child. I know.
Which this movie is really going to. He was on some other shit.
He was definitely on some other shit. And I feel like the movie could have been redeemed in a lot of ways if we'd gotten just even like a couple more scenes of Laurie and Annie. all of them together, just something to make us, because by the end of this, when we say that Lori's on a downward spiral, Lori becomes so hard to root for. Like she's very difficult to watch. And I think that we maybe would have resonated with her more if we could have seen her in like these more touching human
Human
interactions.
intro.
Yes.
I don't understand why was it important that Lori and Annie were estranged, so that you can
Why
have these
was
new characters, so that they can be killed off. Like,
so they could be killed off, yeah, to add to the kill count. And their deaths mean nothing. They hold no weight. We really don't care. You can barely even remember Harley's name.
I don't know. I know something.
I
It's
just
just it's
and think about
so
the
weird.
impact Annie's death would have had if because he's like banking on your feelings from the first movie rolling over into this one. Like we know Annie
And
from the first one.
in the first one, we mean Halloween 4.
I know, right?
He's making on us. He's making us like it's Danielle Harris of Halloween 4.
I know, right? We love you, Danielle.
He even when she died, it's like camera footage of her from that time in her life.
I know. I'm not trying to like shit on Rob Zombie or anything, but Rob Zombie writes unhinged characters doing some weird shit. Like he doesn't have characters with good, loving family dynamics. You know what I
So,
mean?
like Tyler Perry.
I don't. Okay, yeah. We could
Hear
go with Tyler.
Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear
Oh
me
God.
out. Hear me out. Tyler Perry writes a certain kind. Tyler Perry doesn't have a writer's room. Neither does Rob Zombie. They write and direct their own
Absolutely
stuff.
not.
Okay,
Right.
okay. Tyler Perry has a certain style of writing, a certain type of character. Tyler Perry's characters live in the Medea universe, and what it is that they're either a single woman raising children, or they're a woman married to a dark skinned evil man, and they're rich, but he's evil and dark skinned. And there's gonna be some church. Somebody's daddy touched him, and it's gonna be a light skinned man that come in, and he gonna have a 6-pack and save the day. Tyler Perry movies,
With
and
a bad wig.
everybody wig bad. In Rob Zombie's movies, you live in a trailer park. Everybody is cursing, disgruntled. There's slightly no parental figures, no families really put together. There's a lot of anger. There's no tubs, obviously, and
Absolutely not. The water doesn't run.
everybody fucking hair look crazy.
Yes. Neck
So
beards
neck beards
galore.
and just fucking dreadlocks, and everybody just looks dirty.
Right.
So I'm just saying that there's a certain style that they both write. I always think of Rob Zombie as a white Tyler Perry.
Okay.
Because it's just like when you pop in a Tyler Perry movie, you know what you're getting. You pop in a Rob Zombie movie, you know what you're getting.
Right. I agree with that. I do. And so I think that maybe it was more fitting with Rob Zombie to even to write the like killing the gory parts of the movie. It fits, he can do that. He's really creative. He has some creative kills, but to put the heart in the movie, to put the emotion, to make us care about the characters, he can't do that. The only way that we care about his characters is like they're funny. They're homicidal maniacs, but they're funny and they're like cool, and they make chicken and stuff, and so we like care about that. We don't care about them because we have emotional connections with them. He's not good at that. And so I think he just didn't really know what to do with Annie and Sheriff Brackett. He didn't know how to make them come alive on screen because he's just not good at that he's not good at wholesome. That's not what he does.
There's never really anybody in these movies that you're like, yeah, you know,
I'm rooting
it's
for this
just
person.
yeah, I'm rooting for this shit to end.
Right. Or I end up rooting for Sherry Moon's out.
Which is usually a good thing.
It's usually a good thing. It's not here.
This is like my least favorite outing of her.
I agree. After Lori flees the scene from Annie's death, Lori manages to make it to a road and she flags down a passing car. And it's like a really nice guy who offers to take her to the hospital, but Rob Zombie doesn't write nice characters, right? So you know this dude is about to die immediately.
He's totally fucked.
He's totally fucked. And so this is setting up Michael's 15th on-screen kill. This guy loads Lori into the car, and as he's walking around to get in, Michael grabs him and just fucking pushes him through the windshield. Michael's like, let's get this shit over with quick. And then, for some reasons unknown, Michael proceeds to like literally flip the car that Lori's in down an embankment. The car catches on fire and Lori's like unconscious. And I was like, Michael, what were you trying to? I thought we came to get her.
Do you think that Sherry Moon wants her dead?
Maybe she wants them all to die to be together, but I don't think she wanted her to die in this moment, because then they take Michael with the help of Ghost Deborah Myers and Child Michael. He picks Lori up out of the car and he carries her off to this abandoned shack. And deputies informed the sheriff that there's a witness who saw Michael take Lori to the abandoned shack, and the sheriff is very eager to fuck him up. He's out for justice. So, meanwhile, we see in the shack that somehow it's such a weird scene. Lori is being restrained by Child Michael Myers.
A figment of whose imagination at this point?
Right. So I'm like, I guess they're in this shared delusion. So she's talking to Ghost Deborah Myers while adult Michael Myers just like kind of watches from the sidelines. And Sherry Moon convinces her to say, "I love you, mommy," which I found super fucking bizarre.
Was it bizarre or was it cringy as hell?
Cringy as hell.
I was like,
I would like to amend my last statement.
I was like, what the? So if y'all thought the strip club scene was bizarre, this is some new.
He's on some other shit now.
I'm on some other shit now.
Let's keep going because it gets weirder. So all of this is so like off the rails. The police arrive, helicopters and all. They're rolling deep. So we cut to Dr. Loomis, who's like lamenting in his hotel room because his book sales aren't doing as well as he thought they would. And so he sees on the news that Michael Myers is in fact still alive because duh. And Dr. Loomis is shook. And I'm like, bro, are you stupid?
You so fucking stupid. You stupid as fuck, man.
You super dumb. And so somehow he's able to like, he must have used the same mode of transportation that Michael did to get from that party to Annie's house, because
a genie.
Right, because Dr. Loomis is on the scene immediately. So Dr. Loomis believes that he can get through to Michael for some strange reason.
But you can't, because you're the fucking reason why he's like this. You're his goddamn doctor for 15 fucking years.
I'm not trying to like shit on him, but you did such a poor job. Like, you did a worse job than Lori's psychiatrist did. And Lori's totally fucked. She has white people dreadlocks, for Christ's sake.
Do you really think you're about to come in there? Michael hates you. Remember the last time you saw Michael, what he did?
Michael hates you. Why? So for some reason, Dr. Loomis, he just goes into the shack unarmed.
Let me make it right.
Bro, he wants to take Lori with him. But she says that she's being held down. She's like, I can't do it. And so we're seeing it through Dr. Loomis's eyes. And we see that Lori has lost it at this point because she's struggling hard, breaking a sweat against nobody. Nobody's holding. So he tries to tell her that it's all in her mind, but the delusions are very strong. So Ghost Deborah Myers has finally decided it's time. So things aren't looking good for Dr. Loomis. And of course, this is where we get Michael's 16th on-screen kill. So Michael knocks Dr. Loomis down and she just starts fucking slashing him. just all over his face and head, just really fucking giving it to him because he hates you. You shot me. And so he starts just aggressively stabbing him with the biggest knife I've ever seen. And while Dr. Loomis didn't help in any way, shape, or form, the distraction does allow the police to get off a clear shot at Michael, who then, after he's shot, he falls onto this like some spiky barn stuff. And then for some reason, Lori approaches the incapacitated Michael and she rubs his face and she tells him, "I love you, brother," while Ghost Deborah Myers looks on. Why'd she do that?
He said beggars can't be choosy. I gave you a fucking heart-to-heart scene. Gave you a love scene. What else you want? Sherry Moon, here you go.
I know, right? They're like, I gave you Sherry Moon. What more do you want? So Michael then like feigns as if he's gonna stab Lori, but drops the knife because at the end of the day, it is his sister. And then,
No,
then
he
Lori,
just died. He was gonna kill her.
He's not dead yet. Lori kills him for sure. But yeah, he probably just got weak in his hand. Just let it fall. Because
damn.
Because I think they were supposed to die together.
Yeah, he brought her to the killer. That's why
Right.
she's like, it's time.
Right. So Lori takes it and just begins stabbing Michael aggressively. And then for some strange reason that only Rob Zombie knows, she takes this funky ass, nasty ass mask off of Michael and then puts it on herself.
I know that mask don't smell good. I know that mask smell like straight up just sewage. That smell like...
Think about how hot his breath is and how long he's been blowing it on the inside of that mask. Jesus. It's disgusting. So she walks out of the shack, drops to her knees, and then takes the mask off in front of the cops who are like, what the fuck? I'm mad confused. So then we get a shot of Lori. She's kneeling. We see the helicopter flying over her. Police around, looking at this mask. The sound fades, and we get clips of the original Halloween score. And I was like, Rob Zombie really thought he ate with this shot. He was like, I'm about to kill it with this one. With Lori, like, on the ground with all these helicopters and stuff. And
he shot that shit and was like, this bitch clean.
I was like, it's leaving much to be desired, Rob. So then this scene transitions to a long white room in a psychiatric facility where Lori has now been placed because if anybody's ever needed it, it's her. She has a hallucination of ghost Deborah Myers in white approaching her with a fucking white horse. And then she smirks like right in the camera and she has those like dead eyes, those nothing eyes, just like Michael when he was a child. And then it fades to black and the original Halloween score starts. And that is how the film ends. Whew.
Damn.
I know. Broke a sweat with that one.
Let's look at these Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay, so the Rotten Tomatoes aren't great. Okay, so
goddamn.
Wait. So the total kills in this movie was 16 on screen, 1 off screen. The Rotten Tomatoes, we're sorry, Rob. It's 23% critic, 44% audience. There's an IMDb score of 4.8 out of 10 with 58,000 votes, and those are not good scores.
No. But somebody wrote a good one. They said, for a series that has attempted numerous times to reinvent itself, it took until 2009 for a risk to truly pay off.
I couldn't agree more. We've said this so many times. At least he did something different. You have to give him credit for that.
Yeah, it's something, it's different, and it's just like, you have to just really be honest with yourself. And we're very honest with ourselves. Very few of these movies are good. And by these Halloween movies, very few of them are just like, damn, that was like good. Damn, that was good.
This franchise is all over the place.
They got some strange shit going on. It's so different.
It is.
It's so different. You have any fun facts about it?
So just a few. So in an alternate ending, Lori was supposed to die with Loomis and Michael. So, like, a maskless Michael was supposed to kill Loomis outside of the barn. The police would then kill Michael. And then, for some reason, Lori would emerge from the shack following the lead of, like, a ghost, Deborah Myers. And she would pick up Michael's knife. And the police, being very confused, as we all are, they would shoot her. The mental institution with Ghost, Deborah Myers, and the White Horse, like, those were supposed to be like a final hallucination of hers before she died. And so that was supposed to be the end of it. There was also, they were in the talks of making a third installment of this movie, and we actually like just watched something on this. So another, I guess, kind of like alternate ending was Lori was supposed to have been stabbing Dr. Loomis at the end instead of Michael, like not on purpose, but it just kind of happened that way. But it was ultimately canceled, probably because Rob Zombie was like, no. But additionally, he was like, I just can't fucking do this again. But additionally, it was Scream 4 was prioritized instead, which we know was released in 2011. So the studio kind of, that was like their big slasher. Rob Zombie did not want to do this film. I know that's not a shocker nor a fun fact, but they were actually very close to signing 2 other directors to co-direct. But a year after dropping out, Rob Zombie rejoined the project because he just couldn't see anyone messing with the vision that he had for it. And probably because he got a lot of money. And he also felt like he had more freedom and could break away from John Carpenter's blueprint for Halloween because the first movie that he put out was very successful. And so I think that the studio gave him a lot more freedom this time around. And so with that freedom, he was like, okay, I guess I'll give it a shot. And yeah, so like, are you hit or miss? Like, you gotta make a decision.
So to me, I feel like it's a hit. I think this is a hit movie. I think this is one you really, if you're gonna watch a sequel, this is kind of one to see. I don't know how much you'll enjoy it, but it's definitely something worth watching because it's different. You know, it's not. You don't know where you're going with this movie, and neither did Rob Zombie. So where you
Agreed.
land at and how you feel at the end is really up to interpretation. But it's a trip, y'all. So check it out.
I am going to have to say that it is a miss for me. I find it very difficult to watch this movie. We watched it when it came out. I hadn't watched it since, and then I was forced to watch it to do this podcast, and that's how it felt, like I was forced. And I think Rob Zombie is great. I love the characters that he creates in his like Firefly movies, which we'll be covering, House of a Thousand Corpses. I like that. I love House of a Thousand Corpses. I have told you before, had the DVD, wore it out. I really like Sherry Moon Zombie. It's just her presence in this movie is so grating. Laurie's character arc is so poor. The acting is so grating. It's just, there's no redeemable characters. I'm not knocking him for like it's super creative. Like there's a lot of like crazy scenes. I don't mind those, but it's like at a certain point, it's like I think that he could have done a better job. I think he could have given us a better movie than he did. I think that it almost, like, to me, it just kind of feels like he was pissed off with the franchise. I think he would have definitely been. I think he would have preferred to be making Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like I don't really know if he even wanted to make these movies. I mean, I feel like his catalog screams Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
He's like, what the fuck else I have to do? My whole career, my whole stage persona is fucking Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
But he got saddled with the Halloween franchise, and it's it's people expect certain things from it.
I think that this was just not the franchise for him, but Texas Chainsaw was already taken. What do you think would have been? What would have been a better franchise for him to remake?
What do you think it would have been like for him to tackle like Hellraiser?
I hate when we think like alike. Because I was gonna say Hellraiser, and this is why I was gonna say her. You stole that from me.
We just think alike. We had the same opinions on so many things.
What are you going to say because it's so grotesque and the characters are already so fucking awful? Like
there's no redeemable characters in that fucking movie either. So it would have been simple for him. And he's really good at
gore. And I was just
gore.
thinking of that time in what sequel is it of Hellraiser where they're the Cenobites and they're there and they're eating the vomit, and I'm always just like, this is such a Rob Zombie thing.
Yeah, that's such a Rob Zombie thing.
I can't believe you said that. Oh, but yeah, that I think that would have been a franchise. And you know what's so crazy is like that's a franchise where I just feel like they've been like, here, bitch, take it.
I agree. I know. I wonder,
do something with it.
I would have liked that. I mean, I would have liked to have seen that for sure.
I think Hellraiser is just enough freaky, just enough like weird obscureness and terrible characters for him. That would have been a good one.
I think so.
Yeah. But yeah, all in all, Halloween is always going to be around. It's always going to be a franchise, and there's 13. So maybe, this is one down. We would say 12 to go, but we're legit not doing Halloween Kills. So
I can't.
Just can't. We can't.
But we could do Halloween 2018. I would love to do H2O. I love it.
And I would love to do Halloween 6. That one's, you're not ready for that one.
And I'm sure, I mean, we have time. We'll do them.
We have time because we just begun.
I know, right? So I think we have been talking long enough.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think it is time to end. Thank you guys so much for sitting through our very first podcast with us. And if you could please, I'm not trying to be a begging hoe, but follow us on our social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, the YouTube.
The YouTube channel, so like and subscribe.
Did you get comment. That on film?
You get that on film, and you can look underneath, and we'll have all of the links to the social media profiles on the page. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, and until next time.
Until next time.
Bye.